Governor Bush, welcome back to Meet the Press.
Thank you.
Do you still want to be president?
I do. I see great possibilities for our country. I honestly believe we're on the verge of greatness. We have to fix some really big, complex things, and I have the leadership skills to do it. And I'm fired up about that. That's what motivates me.
Do you understand why a bunch of supporters think you don't have that there's something missing?
No, I don't.
Fire's missing?
No, I don't.
Do you know why they think that?
Probably because they watch the cable shows and they, read the political press. But if they followed me on the campaign trail, like last week in New Hampshire, where we had 300 people, totally connected, totally believing in me, I think they would see a different candidate. I've just got to be able to break through the clutter of all the punditry class, and I think I can do that.
What happened at the debate? What happened in that moment? You made your point with Senator Rubio, and you didn't fire back.
Well, I got cut off. That debate was a really weird debate, just because you didn't get a chance to continue on. I literally got cut off by all three of them saying, next question, next question. The basic point with Marco isn't that he's not a good person or he's not a gifted politician. Everybody can see that. It's that I have proven leadership skills. I got to be governor of a state and accomplish big things. And in this era of gridlock, it's really hard to break through, and I think he's given up. And I think that's the wrong thing to do. This is about public service, about solving problems. If you look at the three people on the stage from the United States Senate, all three of them have a combined 2 bills that became law that they've sponsored. If you look at Hillary Clinton, in 10 years, 3 bills she's sponsored that became law. This is the gridlock that I'm running to try to break up. I can change the culture in Washington.
Did you rewatch the debate?
No, I've been busy campaigning.
You don't feel as if you've said you're not a good debater. Do you want to be a better one?
Yeah, I do, absolutely.
So how do you do
and
that?
I will be better. And look, I know that I got to get better doing the debate. And I'm a grinder. I mean, when I see that I'm not doing something well, then I reset and I get better.
So
and
tell
I'm
me
going to be
about the
better.
reset.
Well, I'm gonna do what you have to do. This is not debating. I mean, whatever it's called, it's certainly not debating. I mean, because I can complete a sentence in the English language pretty well, and I have ideas that will lift people up. My focus, and in the debate, I will change the whole conversation. So someone asked me about fantasy football next time, which was kind of bizarre if you think about it. I'll talk about the people I've met that are really worried that they have declining income. They're worried about their children having more opportunities. I mean, I'm campaigning hard amongst people that truly believe that their future is not bright. And it breaks my heart because this extraordinary country has never been this way. And if we fix how we tax and regulate, fix the broken systems that are all around us, this world will be a time of abundance. So I'm going to change the conversation on my terms.
Well, but a week ago, you seemed extraordinarily frustrated, and you're obviously frustrated now. Frustrated with the punditry class, a little frustrated with the debate.
No, I'm not. This is a look.
But you went off. You said I got plenty of cool things to do.
No, but that was completely taken out of context. I got a standing ovation in front of 500 people, not all of whom were my supporters. This was Tim Scott's deal. Ask him. I mean, there was a real connection there. What I was saying was, don't elect me if you want to maintain the gridlock. It's not about me. It's not about the personalities on the stage. It's about fixing how we tax and regulate so that you can rise up. That's my mission. And but don't vote for me if you think that I'm going to be part of that system, and because I'm president, I'll think that's a really cool thing. That's not what this is about. It's about leading. It's about public service. It's about fixing broken things that I know how to do because I got to do it as governor, and that's the story I told. It's easy in the digitized word to take things completely out of context. I'm serious. If you go back and ask the people in that room, I think you'd find a completely different mindset.
Well, I hear you, but I'll tell you this. You said you wanted to run a joyful campaign.
Yeah.
This hasn't, has it been joyful?
It has been joyful. It has been, yeah. Am I frustrated?
It hasn't looked like it.
Well,
I mean, I know, and I get it, but
it has been. It has been. I've had incredible experiences with people who believe in me, who believe that I can fix these things, and it inspires me. I've seen people, the town hall meeting, 300 people showed up at this beautiful place in New Hampshire. It's a great place to campaign. There, by the way, you can actually complete a sentence and ask a person a question. You can listen. You can have a dialogue with people. I don't think they follow all the things that people in other parts of the country follow. They want to hear the candidates, hear their heart, and hear their ideas. And I think I'm going to win New Hampshire because of that, by the way.
I understand you've brought up Senator McCain a lot because you've talked about what happened to his campaign 8 years ago. People wrote him off, and look what he did, and he basically moved his campaign to New Hampshire. You're spending 3 days in New Hampshire. Is that what we're about to see? Are you going to be just camping out there?
No. I mean, the differences are we have a national campaign. I just signed the forms to get on the ballot in 6 other states.
Mm-hmm.
We're totally committed to a national campaign, but February is going to matter. So I'm going to Iowa on Saturday, and I'll be in 3 days in New Hampshire. I'm going to spend. That's been our plan from the very beginning. New Hampshire is an important state because it influences the rest of the early states for sure.
Some of the things you've said about this campaign this year, you said about the 2012 campaign. You said this in a speech after watching a couple of debates in 2012. I used to be a conservative, and I watch these debates and I'm wondering, I don't think I've changed, but it's a little troubling sometimes when people are appealing to people's fears and emotion rather than trying to get them to look over the horizon for a broader perspective, and that's kind of where we are. That was Jeb Bush in February of 2012. Sounds like you right now.
Yeah, that's my
party
speech.
hasn't changed.
That's my speech in Tampa.
But this party hasn't changed.
That's my speech in Tampa. That's exactly the speech I'm going to give on Monday, tomorrow, to talk about how we need to be hopeful and optimistic, have an aspirational message. I don't think conservatives are going to win the presidency unless we campaign with our arms wide open,
Why
inclusive.
Then what? That message, that's not the way
it's
Dr. Carson or Donald Trump.
I don't know. Dr. Carson, you're right about Trump for sure. Dr. Carson, I think, has a more hopeful message, and others do as well. And I just know that's how we're going to win, and that's who I am. It doesn't matter anything else. I'm not a grievance candidate. I'm a candidate that believes we're on the verge of greatness, but it's going to require the leadership skills to fix things, and that's my message. It's how I started my campaign in Kendall, where you grew up, and that's what I'm going to do tomorrow in a speech in Tampa. And that's going to be the basis of my campaign for sure. I'm glad I was consistent.
I mean, and you said something else to Charlie Rose later that year. This is in 2012. You said, this was probably my time, referring to 2012. Although I don't know, given kind of what I believe and how I believe it, I'm not sure I would have been successful as a candidate either. These are different times than just 6 years ago when I last ran, or even longer than that. That's what a lot of people have observed. And wondering, has this party moved away from you?
No, it hasn't. And our country has moved away from us. And that's what we need to get back our country. We need to win. And I think I have the skills to win. You look at the record of Hillary Clinton, and she's a smart person, she's talented, but she has no record of accomplishment. Are we going to put up someone who doesn't have a record of accomplishment against her, or someone who cut taxes every year totaling $19 billion, reduced the government workforce by 11%? I turned this place upside down, not Miami so much, but Florida. And the state led the nation in job growth 7 out of 8 years. We were one of 2 states to be AAA bond rated. You see the gridlock in Washington and compare it to a conservative reformer like I was as governor, I think that's a pretty compelling story.
Do you understand why conservatives are skeptical of a guy named Bush?
Yeah, sure. I mean, a lot of people are. I got to go earn it. This isn't done by, like we say in Miami, por dedo, it's not by decree. You've got to go earn it. And all of the tribulations of a campaign, and we're having our share. There's no doubt about it. Like I have enough self-awareness to know that this is the bumpy time of a campaign. This pales by comparison to being commander-in-chief. I wear this because I think about what it is to be president. This is given to me by a mom of a Marine who was killed in action in Afghanistan. There's a lot tougher things that you have to do than, debating going to 9 debates in a Republican primary. There's big things that presidents have to do. So this is the process. I totally understand it, and I'm more than prepared to fight on.
You don't seem to like the process, though.
I like the process. I
do?
Yeah, you saw me. You were in the roundtable discussion about domestic violence, about the drug addiction. There are times actually for a policy wonk to learn.
That was the best. I was just going to say, you did seem to enjoy yourself at that event, and because you learned something. I mean, you feel like you're learning something about a community.
Yeah. So this is how I wake up each day: listening, learning, and then gaining the ability to lead.
There was a leaked memo, 112-page memo, and there was a big chunk about why Marco Rubio wouldn't be a good nominee. And you went through sort of all of the opposition research on that. That's not a hopeful campaign tactic.
I didn't see it. I'm focused
It's
on
your
a hopeful.
campaign.
I didn't see it. I didn't see it. I don't know.
You don't know this memo? You don't know this
No.
PowerPoint?
Well, I read about it when it was leaked for sure. I didn't know about the PowerPoint. It
Is
wasn't
this something
presented
you want
to
your
me.
campaign involved with?
I want them to focus on winning New Hampshire, winning South Carolina, winning Iowa, winning Nevada. That's our first mission. I want to unify the party, and I'm focused on that. I'm focused on winning the primary, and it's got to be about me first and foremost. Look, you've been around a long time. You know that comparing and contrasting is part of this. But the basis of my campaign is that we can fix these problems and people can be lifted out of poverty and the great middle can get rising income again. That's the purpose of my campaign. That's what I focus on each and every day.
What's the line here, though? When is it that you put party before individual if you're concerned, for instance, that Donald Trump might get the nomination and lose to Hillary Clinton? When do you get to that point in your?
We got to get to the second half of the game here, man. We're in the second quarter. I mean, this time, 8 years ago, Hillary Clinton was 25 points ahead of Barack Obama. I don't remember people saying, Obama, you got to get out of the race, or people telling everybody else other than Rudy Giuliani, it's time to get out, to unite behind the candidate. This is really early. People are going to be able to decide who are the best candidates as we go forward, and I believe I'll be one of those.
Do you think the first 6 months of this year was too much time was spent by you just raising big dollars, doing this super PAC thing, and not enough time reintroducing yourself?
That's what I'm doing now, and we're in the second quarter again. Look, all I can tell you is that the big challenge for our country isn't about the campaign. It's not about the personalities on the stage. It's not about who has the great soundbite. It's about who has the ideas to be able to lift people out of poverty and to create rising income for the middle class. And I have those ideas, and I also have a proven record to do it. That's the story. That's the Jeb story. That's the one I want people to hear, and that's what I focus on. The process I respect, I understand it, but I don't focus on it. I have other people, smart people in the campaign that deal with all that. My mission is to be able to share who I am and give people a sense that I got a backbone, I got a heart, and I got a brain.
Why hasn't that penetrated yet?
Because it's early. It's early. Patience. Got to be patient.
What did Yogi Berra say? It's getting late early this time? You feel that way?
I don't feel that way at all. We're starting in November. We've got 3 months to go for the campaign. I'm going to run hard, and I feel good about when I have these events that are where you're one-on-one, where you're listening to people, talking to people, events that town hall meetings that are growing in New Hampshire. I feel pretty good about where we are, and we just started to advertise, and the Right to Rise PAC is seems to be doing advertising as well. All of that's good.
Are you happy with their advertising?
I haven't
With what
seen.
you've seen?
I was in the gym at 5 o'clock, the Hilton Garden Inn in Manchester, and it kind of
Know
warmed
that
my heart
hotel
to
well?
see.
Did you think they're good ads?
I like the ad. I like the validator ad, the one I've seen where it talks about people that didn't even support me to say, hey, this guy can lead. This guy was, had a clear vision. He had a spine, which is what we need in Washington. Man, we've got a lot of people putting their finger up in the air, wondering if it's popular to be on a particular position, and they'll go into the witness protection program in a heartbeat if the popular will kind of turns, if the winds change. That's not what we need right now. We need someone that has grounded in principle, conservative philosophy in my case, that has the ability to go from point A to point B to move the needle to help people.
You did say something that some may say is prescient, that you were willing to you're willing to lose the primary to focus on the general.
I'm not going to prey on people's fears. I'm not going to prey on their angst. I'm going to offer solutions. That's what I meant by that. And we have a lot of candidates that I think the easy out is to say, follow me because I'm angry too. That's not going to win the general election. It's important to understand people's frustrations. They're legitimate. But the only way we win is to draw people towards our cause. And you can do that and be true to yourself.
You even said working with Democrats, saying it will do that is unpopular with your party.
How are we going to solve these problems? There's no way. I mean, all the big issues in American history have been solved by a strong president working across the aisle, unifying the country. We now have a divider-in-chief who pushes people down that disagrees with him. And I think Hillary Clinton, the exact same thing. I thought it was striking that the
You don't
leading
think your
Democratic
party's been
candidate-
divisive too?
Yeah, no, it has. I admit that. But I'm looking at the Democrats where Hillary Clinton says that her biggest enemies are Republicans. Man, that sets the stage for a really phenomenal time if she's elected. If 50% of the American people are her enemies, how can she lead? How can she solve problems? We need someone that actually believes that our ideas are strong enough and powerful enough to convince people to join us. That's how Ronald Reagan did it. That's how great things happen in this country. We need to restore that for sure.
Some conservatives, though, think that because you gave an award to Hillary Clinton, that you're not going to be tough enough to take her on.
Oh, man. I mean, that's just a joke. This is the National Constitution Center, the center that promotes the Constitution of the United States, that I was the chairman of, replacing Bill Clinton, who replaced my dad. What an honor for me. I fell in love with the Constitution yet again. And the fact that you would give out an award to someone who that I don't agree with, have we lost it? Are we that far along as a country that everything is to be demonized? That's going to make it hard to solve problems. I just reject that kind of attitude out of hand. We're never going to win, and more importantly, we're never going to fix the things that people desperately want us to fix. And that should be the mission for the next president. And if I'm elected, I promise you that will be my mission.
Do you feel like you're running? Is there a sense of duty in your family to be running?
My duty is, I think about people that are saying, I can't get a job because I have healthcare challenges in my family that make it hard for me to get a job. And the exchanges aren't doing what they promised, that it's too costly for me. I worry about people like that. I worry about kids that have student loans up here and they can't get a job. I worry about people stuck in poverty and they want their children to break out by going to a high-performing, charter school and they're on a waiting list. These are the people I worry about. I don't worry about the process, to be honest with you, Chuck.
Because there's some folks who will sit there and say, you're frustrated because, boy, a member of the Bush family can't believe they're losing.
No, I don't even think about that. I love my dad. I'd kill for him. I'd go to prison for him because I love him so much. Thankfully, I haven't had that need to do that.
He seems to be really upset about Donald Trump.
My contribution to my dad's life is that he's gotten fired up again. He's not watching CSI. He's watching.
He's watching a different reality show.
He's watching the shows, as Donald Trump calls them, and he's enjoying, getting back in the game. But I love my family, but I got to go earn it. I've known that from the very beginning. I knew this was going to be hard. I knew it was going to be a challenge, and it should be. Being President of the United States is not an easy job. It's not a cushy job. It's not flying around on Air Force One. It's making tough choices on behalf of millions of people.
The president last week, and I thought about you when he said this, came out against standardized testing for schools, said maybe it isn't working necessarily, this idea of mandatory testing. You brought testing to this state, and I wonder, there's a whole movement against it now. It's part of the Common Core argument against Common Core, not all of it, but part of it. Have we gotten the testing thing wrong? Have you rethought it?
No, well, I didn't hear the whole context of his speech. I don't think he was saying get rid of all testing. I think he was saying we're over-testing.
We're over-testing and
that's
pulling
true.
back with the mandatory
testing. I think that's
testing.
true. And in Florida, I know for a fact, because I follow it here more than other states, there's been an effort to pull back on the number of tests for school districts.
Pulled the plug on testing, haven't they?
Well, most of the tests are county district tests, not state tests. You could have one meaningful test that could accurately measure the status of where a child is as it relates to math and reading, and you could be done with it. We don't have to teach to the test. We don't have to have over-testing, but we need to know where students are. And I don't know if the president said we'd get rid of all tests. He'd be wrong about that. But the key is to make sure it's state-driven. We don't need to have the federal government creating the test or whether the curriculum content, all that stuff ought to be state-driven.
Do you look at the campaign to sort of undo or demonize Common Core as sort of a metaphor of like what's happened to American politics? Because it is amazing to me. Common Core's basic premise was state-driven, floor of standards. States could go higher standards if they wanted. Federal government simply wanted to reward. At the time, they thought they were just going to reward states that were doing this, and it just. Do you look at it and say, what's wrong with American politics?
I look at it as a lot of people not believing in the federal government anymore, not trusting the federal government, believing that the federal government
Was there anything wrong with what Arne Duncan tried to do?
The only thing wrong would be to say, if you're going to get our money, you have to take Common Core standards. And there was an out. You could have had higher standards or equally high standards, but that's what lit people up. And the simple
Should it
fact
have,
is,
though? I mean, you know what I
I
mean?
just
It's
don't-
sort of like, I get that beating up the federal government, which should we be in that place?
we need high standards.
Yeah.
That's what we need.
So how do you
And the
encourage it?
commonality is not as important as the highness of the standards. And they need to be assessed accurately, and we need real accountability around
So
it.
why
And it
should
ought
the
to be
federal
state-driven.
government help incentivize it, though?
I just don't think people believe the federal government, whenever they get their claws into something, they're going to then start mandating how it's got to be done. And that's what we've seen kind of creeping up. And when I'm president, I would be a strong supporter for higher standards and believing in education reform because it's the great equalizer in our society.
But you wouldn't use the tools of the federal
No, I
government
would
to help?
I'd be a partner. I'd convene. I would let people know the fact that about a third of our kids are college or career ready, and we're not fooling anybody. That's a huge problem for our country. But I think the best place for this to be worked out is at the local and state level, where the federal government can be a partner. I mean, if the states want to try a new approach for early childhood education, the federal monies ought to go to support those reforms. Miami's got a great early childhood program, but that's not how it works. Or Title I money for low-income kids.
Right.
Instead of saying, well, it's just got to go to the beast, if you will, why not try innovative new approaches? It ought to be, my instinct, though, on every one of these policy areas is it ought to be bottom-up, not top-down.
In 1996, you told Larry King that you didn't think Bob Dole should have litmus tests for cabinet appointments or judicial appointments, that one issue shouldn't do it, at the time referring to abortion. He said, you know what, the conservative, there's 100 things that make somebody a conservative, not just one issue.
Right.
Do you still believe that? No litmus tests?
I don't believe in litmus tests, but I'm going to make sure that my appointments to the Supreme Court would have a consistent, proven record of judicial restraint.
So you're not going to ask a potential Supreme Court justice if they would overturn Roe v. Wade?
No, but I would ask deep questions about judicial philosophy, and then make sure that the person had a proven record. I think the lessons of the last few years is that you've got to fight for your candidates that you nominate, and they ought to have a clear, consistent record so that you have a higher assurance they're not going to wander off.
You had said that at the time you didn't think that there was a broad enough consensus to fight for a constitutional amendment against abortion. You still feel that way?
I think that what we ought to do is elect conservatives like myself and others that believe that life is a gift from God and life is precious. And I'll just share you my record. And it was a record of accomplishment. Choose Life's license plate. We were the only state that funded crisis pregnancy centers with state dollars, parental notification, ending partial birth abortion, expanding the adoptions. These are the places where this fight takes place each and every day. Defunding Planned Parenthood at the state level. And I'm proud of my pro-life record, and it's from beginning to end. I mean, the end-of-life issues are going to become more important as well going forward because of our aging of our population.
Speaking of life, have you changed your mind on the death penalty?
I'm conflicted. I am. It was the law of the land when I was governor, and I faithfully dealt with it. To be honest with you, it is not a deterrent anymore because it's seldom used. It clogs up the courts. It costs a ton of money. And
are you one of those that look at the fiscal part of it and say, you know what, maybe it makes more fiscal sense to
Here's
not
the
do
one thing, and it's hard for me as a human being to sign the death warrant, to be honest with you. I'm informed by my faith in many things, and this is one of them. So I have to admit I'm conflicted about this, but here's the deal. When you meet people, this happens in rare cases where the death penalty is given out, and you meet family members that have lost a loved one, and it's still in their heart. It's etched in their soul, and this is the way that they get closure. I get more comfortable with it, to be honest with you. But we should reform it. If it's to be used as a deterrent, it has to be reformed. It can't take 25 years. That does no one any good. Neither the victims nor the state is solving this problem with that kind of tangled judicial process.
So you're still in favor of it?
Yeah, but I'm just saying, look, this is life, Chuck. It's not all, either or. Sometimes you can see both sides, and I believe life is truly a gift from God, and innocent life particularly should be protected at all costs, for sure. But people that commit these crimes, justice can't be denied, and it shouldn't be delayed. And maybe there's a better way to do this where victims feel as though they're being served, because that should be front and center, the first obligation of the state.
One quick follow on abortion. What exceptions are you comfortable with on abortion?
Just as it relates to my views haven't changed. I believe in the exceptions of rape and incest in the life of the mother, of course.
And is there a line on health? What is that line on life and health of the mother?
Well, the life of the mother, not health of the mother.
Okay. The Syria decision by the president to put some boots on the ground. You've advocated a little more of a robust response in Syria. What would you be doing? Would you be putting more of these special forces on the ground?
Well, first of all, I'd have a strategy that would be outlined. The president has really openly, honestly said for 2 times in the last year that he doesn't have a strategy. It's this incrementalism that I'm troubled with by the president. He should speak with authority about what the strategy is. I do applaud him for engagement with the special operators, but we can't get into a quagmire. There should be a real strategy to take out ISIS and to take out Assad. This has all been made a lot more complicated with the Russian involvement.
What would you...
Safe zones?
Is it ISIS or Assad, or do you go both?
It's both.
So you would be pursuing a strategy of getting rid of Assad and dealing with ISIS.
And having a political solution that could create stability in a place that is tragically lacking it. 4 million Syrian refugees, 250,000 people killed by both sides, Christians being murdered because of their faith, moderate Muslims that believe in their faith but are being raped and held as slaves. I mean, this is a tragic case of inaction by our own country and chaos in this place. And so I think we need to be engaged with safe zones and air power to be protecting the safe zones, both for the refugees as well as a fighting force, that there should be a unified effort in the region. The Saudis and the Turks and others need to join us. I think the Europeans, seeing the consequence of millions of refugees coming towards them, should be engaged as well. And we should be the leaders. This is what America does best.
Do you accept some of the analysis that says without the invasion of Iraq, we wouldn't have ISIS?
No, I don't. ISIS was created after al-Qaeda in Iraq was taken out.
You don't think losing the stability of the strongmen in the Middle East, no matter what we thought about it, Gaddafi, Saddam, Assad, there's this argument that says some in your party,
that's a convenient,
Donald Trump is one of them.
That's a convenient argument.
Even Ted Cruz is one of them.
That's a convenient argument, I think. I think the better argument is the surge worked. A fragile Iraq existed. Had we kept 5,000 or 10,000 troops there, had we engaged politically to show support to the central government, had we also showed support to the Kurds and armed them directly, that we would have a very different circumstance as it relates to ISIS. The caliphate was created after al-Qaeda was taken out by the heroic efforts of men and women led by David Petraeus.
So if the surge worked, do you think we need a new surge in Syria and Iraq?
A different surge. You know, I think what we need to do now is to do what the president is kind of tepidly moving towards, which is to embed with the Iraqi military, to provide support. Although this announcement didn't include this, I think we need to arm the Iraqi Kurds. I think we need to re-engage with the tribal leaders. But we need to make sure that Iraq is ultimately leading the effort to take out ISIS in their territory.
All right, you brought up General Petraeus. I'm going to bring up a name, another general. Last question. General Stanley McChrystal has a favorite interview question. What would someone who doesn't like you say about you?
Probably that, you know, I think people in Florida would have said it's my way or the highway.
Yeah, that comes up a lot. You think, why are they wrong? Or
well,
why did they get that impression?
I fought for my beliefs.
Some of that is true.
It is true. And people, at the end of it, people respected me.
It's not a compromiser, though.
Huh?
My way or the highway is not a compromiser.
Well, because I had an environment where I could reach, I could drive, I could change the agenda because I had friends that supported me. And at the end, I had a 67% approval rating when I left. This is a purple state, as you know, 500,000 more Democrats than Republicans. I won double digit in my reelection. I got 60% of the Hispanic vote because people respected me, because I had a heart for them. I fought for my ideas. People knew I wasn't doing this because it was I was the big guy on the stage. They knew that I had a heart for people. I'm releasing a book on Monday called Reply All, and it's really the essence of the servant leadership that I had as governor of this state.
Governor Bush, I'll leave it there.
Thank you.
Thank you, sir.
Hey, NBC News fans, thanks for checking out our YouTube channel. Subscribe by clicking on that button down here, and then click on any of the videos over here to watch the latest interviews, show highlights, and digital exclusives. Thanks for watching.